In this video, I'm going to show you how to pass the CPC exam. If you're watching this video, it's likely that you are interested in becoming a CPCA certified professional coder. I'm going to tell you my best tips and tricks so that you can go into that exam feeling confident and prepared that you are going to pass with flying colors. Hey everyone, I'm Victoria. I'm a medical coder, auditor, educator, and content creator, and on my channel I provide tips, tricks, and tutorials to help you be successful in a medical coding career. If you haven't already, highly encourage you, to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so that you can get alerts when I post new episodes. That CPC credential that you get from passing the CPC exam by the AAPC is one of the most popular and sought after credentials in medical coding. Now, if you have not yet gotten to that point where you've gotten training to take the CPC exam, you definitely want to check out my medical coding masterclass. What this masterclass does is it gives you that complete roadmap on like, hey, I'm someone who's interested in medical coding. What do I need to know? Like, what are the important factors? Like, what's the salary ranges? What are the right ways to get into coding programs? What should I look for in a coding program? What coding program do you recommend? Like, that's what I cover in this masterclass. So if you are looking for medical coding training, that is what I recommend. Sign up for Medical Coding Masterclass. I will give you the complete blueprint, the roadmap on everything you need to do. The link is in the description. One of the top tips I can tell you if you're getting ready, if you're like, oh, I need to get ready for my CPC exam, I've done my training, like what do I do next, is take a review class. A lot of the AAPC local chapters, and you have to be a member in order to take the exam, so once you become a member, you'll get all that information on AAPC local chapters. You don't have to be certified to go to a local chapter meeting or attend a seminar, but you do have to be a member, or we can let non-members attend like 2 meetings a year. These chapters often have review classes for sometimes free or sometimes very low cost. In-person classes are just starting to return, but you will also find some of them available on Zoom so you can attend virtually to these review classes. They're taught by fellow coders or sometimes local instructors, and it's just a huge variety of slides that the AAPC provides specifically for local chapters to do these reviews. If you can't find one, you can also check out my website, contempocoding.com, and I do have review classes for both the CPC and the CRC credentials. Now, the second thing that will definitely help you prepare for the CPC exam is practice examinations. You can find practice examinations on the AAPC website. You can find them sometimes from independent vendors like CCO.us has some practice examinations. Sometimes your training materials come with practice questions, practice exams that you can take as well. When you take those practice exams, you want to focus on 2 things, your timing and your accuracy. The CPC exam is now 4 hours long and 100 questions. So if you want to break that down, try and do 25 questions in 1 hour and make sure that your time is good for that. As far as accuracy, I always say aim for an 80% on the practice exams. If you can get an 80% on a practice exam, that's a good indicator that you are likely to pass the CPC exam when you take the official examination. I have seen people though that have scored lower. They've scored maybe a 68 on their practice exam, but were able to get a passing score on their CPC exam. So don't continue to hold out until you get like 100% or something on your practice exams. But they're very similar. They basically have a giant test bank of questions, and people just make up the questions. And they don't know if the questions are going on the actual exam. They don't know if they're going on in the training manuals for review. They don't know if they're going on a practice exam. So the variety of questions are going to be the same on the practice exams as the actual exam. You'll hear a different variety because everyone gets a different mix. So you might hear people say that, oh, they found the practice exam harder, or vice versa. They found the actual exam harder than the practice exams. Now, the other thing that often gets forgotten is your training materials. Oftentimes when you go through a program, your instructor might say, oh, well, we're going to do the odd number cases in this chapter, or you don't do the case studies at the end. So there's extra materials probably in your training manuals that you can do. If you go through the official CPC program through an instructor or through the AAPC directly, you'll get these 2 books. You'll get the training textbook and the workbook. The training textbook does have cases in it that you can practice with. So don't skip out on these section reviews. Those can be great materials to help you prepare for your exam. And oftentimes if you're like rushing through, or maybe you had a bad week, you didn't get to all those section reviews, go back and do them. And then of course the practical application workbook is good as well. I get a lot of questions from people that they're like, hey Victoria, I can't find these on the AAPC website. Where do I locate these books? You have to have purchased the full credential curriculum in order to receive the training manuals. They're not like something you can independently purchase. The step-by-step books are also really good. I know that they don't provide all of the answers to the questions, but I think the preparation that they have for the exam for medical coding, their case scenarios are really, really excellent. The way that they teach the material is really excellent. So if you're interested in those step-by-step books, I have links for them in the description of this video. You have to scroll a little bit down to get the Amazon link. Now, once you're fully prepared and you feel that you're ready to take the exam, you have to become an AAPC member and pay your membership dues, which are due every single year. If you're interested in hearing more about the cost associated with being a medical coder, things that you may have to pay like every year, like your membership dues to the AAPC, check out this video over here in the little eye icon, and that will give you more information about the cost of being a medical coder. But in order to take the exam, you have to be an AAPC member. You cannot pay like a higher exam fee for being a non-member. You have to be an AAPC member to take the CPC exam. So you have to pay your membership dues and you have to pay the examination fee. I don't want to say what the examination fee is because they've been changing a bit lately. Now they have differences between online versus in person if you want 1 attempt versus 2 attempts. So check aapc.com for the current pricing information for examinations for when you're watching this video. Now, if you choose to take the examination online, you will have it broken down into 2 sections. There will be 2 sections that are 2 hours long each, which totals the 4 hours. In order to take the examination online, it has to be a quiet, private space and your desk has to be completely cleared off. So no, like I have all of my file folders and stuff back there, that would not be allowed. You are only allowed to have your medical coding books and a drink. You also need to have an external camera. So an external camera meaning something that's not like your built-in laptop camera. So this is a good setup. Almost any camera these days, they're so plug and play. The quality of them is good. I would recommend though, since they have to kind of go around and see everything that's in your room to make sure that you don't have cameras recording you taking the exam or someone else sitting in the exam, that you can get something that's maybe on, this is just a cheap selfie stick I got on Amazon. It extends, it goes up, so I can move them around and show the proctors of the examination everything that's going on in my room. Most webcams these days just have a standard camera screw on them, so you can stick them onto something like a selfie stick, and that'll make it a really easy setup for you. Occasionally you can just find someone who has a webcam or a stick that they'll let you borrow. Now, if you're taking the examination in person, you're allowed a little bit more. You can take things like, not just your coding books, obviously, whether you take it in person or online, you're going to need your CPT, HCPCS, and your ICD-10-CM book. Those are the 3 coding books that you're allowed to take. But you can also take writing utensils. So pens, pencils, you're gonna need a number 2 pencil to fill in your exam grid in person. If you need to take highlighters, if you wanna take a ruler, I know some people like to take magnifying rulers so that they can not only follow along maybe on some of the grids in the code book, but also magnify some of those tiny little text pieces. Reference the AAPC website for what is and is not allowed in your books. I'll actually link the FAQ in the comments. But like here, if you kind of look at my ICD-10-CM book, I haven't tabbed it because I'm not usually a big tab person, but like a tab like this is okay. But this post-it note that I have sticking out here would have to be removed. You're allowed to have tabs that are clearly to mark a page so that you can flip to it, but post-it notes are not allowed, especially if you've written like extra material on there. You're also not allowed to take any additional references or score sheets or anything like that to the CPC exam. There are exams out there, other credentials that do allow things like score sheets or additional references, but not the CPC exam. Sometimes people don't read the instructions correctly and they think that everything that's on the list is what they're allowed to take. But what is on the list sometimes is referencing other credentials that they're allowed to take an additional reference for. So a medical dictionary, not allowed for the CPC exam. But you are allowed to highlight things in your book, circle them, underline them, make little notations. You're just not allowed to write an entire book into your book. You're not allowed to write practice exam questions into your book. A lot of people swear by the Chun or BAT materials. So I think BAT is great, B-H-A-T. Check out cco.us if you're interested in their bubble highlight underline technique on how to mark up your book. It is time consuming, but I know some people absolutely swear by it. They say this is the one thing that helped me pass my exam. I don't teach that technique because I did not create it, and I have paid full respects to CCO for having done it. But if you need help figuring out how to tab your books, I do have a tabbing tutorial that I made a couple years ago. It is the exact same process. The book's years have changed, but the tabbing process has not. You can check that out here. I will also link in the description below. Or you can just go to the front page of the channel and there's a little magnifying glass. You can search there for any topic that you're looking for. Now, for your in-person exam, make sure you know where you are going, because once they close those doors and they're like, the exam has started, they cannot let you in. That is an AAPC regulation. So you have to make sure that you know where you're going, which room you're going into. Some people will kind of do a test run ahead of time to make sure that they know exactly where they are going. In person, you are allowed to take drinks and snacks if you need them. Obviously, it's a little distracting if you're sitting there eating a bag of Ruffles potato chips or a heated up salmon. So it's encouraged that you keep like quiet snacks, cookies or granola bars or something that's not going to make a ton of noise and distract people. It's also recommended to dress in layers, because the spaces that they usually host the CPC exam in are borrowed space. They don't have exam centers like AHEMA does. So oftentimes the people who are there volunteering their time to proctor the exam don't have control over the temperatures in the room. So it's good to bring like a light jacket so you can take that off and on in case you would get too cold or too hot. And you can 100% dress comfortably. This is not a business interview where you need to come in your suit. Most people are wearing like jeans or sweats and t-shirts. Another tip is that if you're concerned about time, you might want to bring a clock or a wristwatch because sometimes the rooms don't have a clock, or they might have a clock that's located in an area where it's not easy for you to like turn around and look. As far as watches those, you're not allowed to take in anything that can transmit data. So it would have to be an analog watch, not, you know, an Apple Watch or a smartwatch of any kind. You could even bring on like a digital little, like a little battery operated clock if you're concerned about your time. And make sure you know the exam rules. Read those emails that the AAPC is sending you with the directions, with the information, with the allowed references. For example, you are not allowed to have your cell phone with you at the exam because they don't want you, texting your friends going, hey, here's my question. Can you tell me what the answer is? Some proctors will say, hey, we have sticky notes. You can just write your name on your phone and set it on a table up front. We want you to have it off, like no vibrate, no nothing, no ringer. Other places, they're much more stringent. They're like, yeah, it has to be outside the test area. It has to be locked in your car or something. And make sure you know what books you are allowed to bring and the editions of them, because certain editions of the books are not allowed. So for example, the CPT book, it has to be the AMA edition of the CPT book. No other editions of the CPT book are allowed. I've even had some people come to the exam with their PCS books. There are no ICD-10 PCS questions on the CPC exam, so that is not an allowed book for your exam. So it's really important to familiarize yourself with that whole process. The more familiar you feel, the more confident you feel about what to expect at the exam, the better you're going to do, because you'll be more relaxed, you'll feel more confident, you'll know what you're doing and be prepared. But if you need more information on how to prepare for certain sections of the CPC exam, or just more help in general for the exam, I have this entire playlist, like the entire playlist you can check out on preparing for the CPC exam. And if you just need training from zero, like you're just getting started now, definitely check out my Medical Coding Masterclass at medicalcodingmasterclass.com. I will see you guys in the next video, and until then, just keep on coding on.